Man, shoot. Well, number one, man, it's good to holler at you, man. 'Cause it's been
It's
a
been a
minute.
minute, man.
Been a
Like a
minute.
minute.
We may.
Wow, bro. Since when?
I mean, we might comment back and forth on things, but like, I don't think we talked since probably the last show.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's nuts.
Yeah, man.
Good days right there.
Good days, man. So, new episode, Major Music Lounge. Got a good friend of mine. Some of you may know him as Kool Nerd Productions from the Producer's Corner. Like to welcome the homie Corey. What's good, man?
What is going on? What's going on?
Man, it's a pleasure to finally get to talk to you after all this time. Shit, man, we did the show for what 4, 5, 6 years, and
Yeah.
yeah, man, and it was a long journey in itself. With just all the things we did as far as the topics between the music marketing, pro audio, and audio engineering, and just all the guests we had on the show. Me and Rich was kind of talking about that. Super Mario when when we did the show, he was rich for nice Super Mario.
Right, right.
Um,
That show was crazy, man. We did so many dope things. I think it went by so fast. We didn't even realize what happened.
we didn't, man, because like real talk, it's almost like because I met Chosen in like '09, and then
Yeah.
it all went from there to I think we stopped in what 15 or 16. I think
Yeah.
so, somewhere around there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just because it was so weird because it started off with just me and Chosen, and then Rich joined the show, and then Nuance World, Trey joined the show, and then
Mm-hmm.
you joined the show, and then Mr. Lee joined the show, and then he had left the show, and then it was just us. And it's like, man,
That
and
was
next thing you
crazy.
know, it's like I woke up. It was 2009. Then it was like 2016. I'm like, whoa, where did all the time go?
I don't even know, man. We did 4 years of just pure content. If somebody went back and just played those, you could get a degree.
Yeah,
Like we gave every piece of knowledge we had on that show, man. That was nuts.
man.
Man, I miss it though.
I know a lot about your past and what you've done, man. But tell everybody else as far as your journey to becoming a producer and audio engineer, because you used to lead with a lot of those topics on the show, and I still got some of those joints here on my YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
tell everybody about your journey as far as how did you really get pointed in that direction in life.
Yeah, man. The YouTubes be taking me back, man, taking me way back. But as far as my start goes, and again, I've said this on the show, but it's been so long, man. So like where to start? Started for me like when I was about 11 years old. That would have been like 2001 is when I really started. Homie up the street was producing beats, and he was like, man, I'll sell you this keyboard if you want. I could tell like he just didn't want it. Like he had something else, but he's like, I'll sell you this keyboard if you want to get started making beats. And I'm like, all right, like I'll buy it. How much? And he was like, I'll sell it to you for $100. And 11-year-old kid, like only thing I get is chore money, like $20 a week or something like that, 10, $20 a week. So I saved all the way up as much as I could. And my brother saw how hard I was trying to get this keyboard. He's like, yo, I'll go half with you on it. So boom, bought that keyboard. And since that day, man, I've been producing ever since. And my brother said I still owe him money off of that. He said I owe him 40% of everything I do. That's what he said. So
Gotta pay the brother, man.
yeah, man, he a clown. Shout out my brother. But yeah, so we got that keyboard, and ever since then, it's just been growing and growing. So started out, I don't even remember the model of that keyboard. Yamaha keyboard. It was one of those workstation joints with the start stop buttons, and you can like record into the selection of little slots. And I thought that was like crazy. You know what I mean? Like that was nuts. Before that, I had been recording into my dad's boom box because you could put it on mic mode and just recording into that, like beatboxing and stuff. So this was crazy. And the drum samples were terrible, but I could do it. So did that, upgraded to a PSR 1100 Yamaha, which took floppy disks. Dee Dot, it took floppy disks. Like we're talking way back. So I made beats off of that, and I still got that keyboard downstairs. Made so many beats off of that for years and years, all throughout high school, till I got to like college almost. Like right before I left college, I got into like the garage band. So that would have been 2008. I got into garage band and producing beats that way. But up until that point, with the floppy disk, I had the little computer mics that came.
Yeah.
I used to put that next to the speaker and tape it with some Scotch tape and play the beat and loop it into Yamaha Studio Maker 3. The struggle.
Man.
So that was my start to my journey. Decided to go to college, started going for computer engineering. Was not for me. Love computers, but wasn't for me. So I decided I'm gonna do I produce all the time and engineer. Why not go for that? So I switched to Capital University in Columbus and went for music technology. And ever since then, man, career took off for me. Started my own business in my dorm room, working freelance. It was a wrap, man.
I
That was
think
it.
that was right around the time we were doing the show. I think
Mm-hmm.
you had started to come on the show, and then I remember you had moved right around that time
Yep.
because you graduated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, man, and as it's kind of ironic as you was telling this story. I'm thinking in my head at the same time, man, like it's very similar. I remember I had this Casio keyboard in the late 90s, man.
Yeah.
And around probably I would say between 95 and 2000, my middle school years up until I got out of high school, I moved a lot. And somewhere along the way I lost that keyboard, man, and it killed me. It killed me. And then the other part was, and you kind of went there as the story went along, but you talked about how you had those little computer mics. And I told this story to Super Mario when he was on here, because we was talking about how he and I both use Magic Music Studio, and we used to make these because it was basically a loop, copy and paste loop program. Like you couldn't play MIDI or nothing in it, man. So the only thing it could do though was change the notes and change the key that it was in. So that's what kind of made it cool. But anyhow, we used to rap on one of those little computer mics. And we used to think we had some dope shit back then, man. So but you gotta live and learn from all of that, man. And we talked a lot really about the importance of gear on the show, which kind of goes to my next topic. At the time, if I'm not mistaken, you used a little bit of Pro Tools
Mm-hmm.
and Ableton.
Pro Tools and Logic. So
Logic,
me and you
yeah.
both did Logic.
Yeah, I remember Logic now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, man, have you been up on Logic a lot lately? Like just
I recently I don't know what version I have because I'm really particular about updating my computer, but I went ahead and went for it. Like I had a really old version for a while, wasn't updating it. And then I saw some of the stuff that they was implementing with some of the new just the new features, especially in the MIDI realm, like they're really like I like the little drummer dudes, like they got the little pictures of the drummer dudes, and you can make
Yeah.
grooves. Like I showed that to my guy who played guitar, and he's like, "This is perfect if I just want to do a groove, like just loop it and groove." And I was like, "Yeah, man, they're really doing some innovative stuff." So once I saw that, and they changed one of the synthesizers up, and I can't think of what it was, but once they did that, I was like, "Yeah, I gotta re up, man."
Yeah, man.
Amazing.
It's a lot because for my job, like I do some stuff with GarageBand, and it was kind of cool to see that they brought and implemented a lot of things like the drummer was one. Also the live looping feature. That
Mm-hmm.
was another one. And the fact that you can like mix it's almost like being a DJ basically on your iPad in some case. And if you have like a more recent Mac, because like I have the computer that I'm actually doing the show from is the M1 Mac, but the
Mm.
computer behind me is a 2013 model, and Logic can't run on there. I mean, today I actually fought for 3 hours trying to get that thing to run. So, because it can
Ah,
only run certain plugins that I can't run on the M1 yet. So,
right.
um, but yeah, man, it's came a long way. Now, as far as your some of the things we used to talk about on the show is the importance of guys not just learning how to make beats, but also learning how to actually engineer their music. Um, what's your take maybe on producers that don't really take the time to educate themselves on that side of getting their music prepared to maybe release for like um digital platforms, or if they want to go for publishing things like that.
It makes it really hard to sell when you don't know how or what a audio standard is. You know what I mean? Like you want to push this movie for film, but it's distorted or it's not balanced correctly, and it's out of phase or something like that. And if you don't know what those things mean or why that's important, then you can't really master to a audio standard. And it makes it really hard to sell even on the low level, like the common ear can hear it. So you at least have to get your mixing to a point to where the common ear can no longer tell the little things that are happening. Like you and I might be able to send a track back and forth, and the conversation that you and I are going to have, it's going to be totally different. It's going to be very small, minute things, nudging things out of the way. But if you can't even get to a basic level of understanding, like I don't know where that leaves you. You know what I mean? Like what you really should do at that point is outsource if you can't do it. But I don't know if you've seen now they got like all of these online, and I hate them, all these online services. SoundCloud is doing it too. Like, oh, just run your track through this and we'll master it or mix it. But even that, it's like you're not understanding what's happening. You don't have no control over that. So sonically, it affects the whole groove of the beat. The engineering does. The engineering is a whole different layer of creativity in itself. So you're missing out at that point, just putting sounds together.
Yeah, and it's one of the things, me personally, um, there are some of my projects that I did engineer myself, but there are some things that like I don't know, engineering to me is like I like to hear different people's sounds. Like most of the time, I'll work with a different engineer to mix the project. Then I may work with somebody different to master the project as well. And there are of course some guys I like that work a little bit better than others, but I also do appreciate the different sound and a different ear that maybe I may do a pre-production mix on my end, and then
Mm-hmm.
they end up hearing something that I didn't hear in the mix, and end up making my mix stand out a little bit more than I can do. I told Rich on the show I resorted to a lot of like literature, the art of mixing,
It's a good book.
which
It's a
was
good
one
read.
of them I read, and then just a lot of the knowledge that I got from you guys just from being on the show and then being in a lab with other people. So it's really important, guys, that if you don't necessarily have to be a pro at it, but at least have a basic understanding about what EQ does, what a compressor does, what a limiter does. Don't just
Yeah.
be adding stuff to add stuff on a track just because you saw somebody else do it. You know.
And it's complicated, man. I got a young homie that this is crazy. So when I first started at Producers Corner, I was a camp counselor. There was a little kid who was in the 5th grade who could play drums crazy. He saw what I was doing and decided to go to the same college I went to major in the same thing I did. And just recently he hit me up. He's 21 now. Feel old. He's 21 now. And he's hitting me up and he's asking me about compression. And he's in his 2nd or 3rd year. So if that gives you any idea of how difficult it is, like he has a teacher explaining it to him. I'm explaining it to him. And you learn it in multiple classes. Like it's not just one, like compression keeps coming up. And he's just like, man, I'm just not understanding it. So I'm trying to teach him how to, I said, you got to do your own reading and your own understanding. I said, keep taking in knowledge until it makes sense, until you grasp a little something more each time. And that's the best way to learn. That and having an engineer friend.
Yeah.
If you got an engineer friend, even me as an engineer, I got engineer friends who I send stuff to and say, what's wrong with this? Like something's not right. What am I not understanding about this mix? Help me out. And that helps a lot too.
Career wise, has audio engineering brought any opportunities outside of just making beats for you?
Yeah, so going to school was helpful because there's certain realms within the audio industry that you can't get into without a degree or the knowledge of engineering. So for me, straight out of college, outside of being able to do Icebreaker Radio and in the Producers Corner, I was able to get into audiobooks, um, which is working in spoken word media. And that was an amazing experience. Met a lot of people, made a lot of connections there. And then that got me into podcasting. So it's like the way the audio industry works, right? Like you just need that degree to get into one space. And once you get into that space can take you a plethora of different areas, right? So that's really why I wanted to get the degree, because you can learn audio engineering through, some online courses and things like that. But I really wanted it to be official and to learn from people I trusted so that I know I had the knowledge to do anything I wanted to do within the audio realm. So audiobooks, podcasting. Right now I'm actually working in IT at a university doing audio visual, which is very closely related to an audio degree, which is something they don't really tell you, but it's a great way to make money. So yeah, plethora of different areas, man.
Yeah, man, and that's one of the things I appreciate about yourself, because when you're younger, and when a lot of guys are younger, they're just thinking about really the whole making beats aspect of production. They're not thinking about the opportunities outside, whether that is actually film and television, whether that's like podcasting and audiobooks like yourself. Um, Even there are like sound engineers that are working live, like on ESPN and like,
Yep.
CNN and all these other, national networks. So there are a lot of opportunities beyond just making beats and mixing in studios. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a really good job to have,
Yeah.
especially if you're getting like major artists coming through, signed artists, or even if you're running your own studio in your own city. and you're making good money off of it. So, there are just a lot of opportunities around in this day and age when it comes to production on a number of levels. Um, Now, one of the other things, and we've kind of talked about this online as well. We had, it's kind of ironic that when I look back on the time from the producers' corner, we all did the show together, and then from that, we kind of all branched out to do our own kind of shows. You have the Gamers podcast,
Yep. Yep.
so
Game for the gamers. Yep.
and the cool part about it was I think you started that like right after we stopped the show.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about what went behind the idea of just starting a gaming podcast.
So that was interesting because while I was working and doing the radio show, I had got into we were doing radio spots. So I was doing some voiceover work myself with the commercials. I think we all had some commercials running at some point. And I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. And then a buddy of mine was working on a podcast. I can't remember the name of it. He's no longer doing it, but it was just an amazing idea. And just seeing how he was getting success. And I was like, I really want to get in these things, but I'm doing the radio show. So that void for me was kind of filled. But then when the radio show was no longer a thing, I was like, man, I miss like talking every week. You know what I'm saying? Like I got a lot of things on my mind I want to get out, and not necessarily about engineering, just in general. So me and my friends, we game all the time. And the conversations that we have are hilarious. And I'm like, yo, we gotta record these to be funny. And that's how ideas start. Like, gotta record this to be hilarious. So that's essentially what we did. Started off really rough, and then we kind of like I took everything that I learned from doing Icebreaker Radio, taught it to the guys, and we developed this really cool show. So that's what we do every now and again. I mean, we stream and stuff like that too, more so now. But the podcasting thing is it's just fun, man. So that's how we got into that gaming, and I do it straight from the PlayStation. Just hook the PlayStation up to the studio. We talk and game. That's it.
Man, that's really cool. For one, I got back in the game, and I would say probably the last 3 years. But like one of the things was over probably most of the time we were doing the show, I kind of got away from it, and
Mm.
it's like it was a whole new world when I started playing again. And I'm not hardcore like I used to, but I still enjoy to play. Um, and kind of like yourself, man. Like you know, you got into it a little bit uh, earlier than I did, but as far as the podcast, but that was kind of one of the things too. Like just sitting around, because it had been a while since we had stopped, and just sitting around, I felt like I had to get involved with something again. I didn't know whether or not I wanted to like a sports podcast or a music production podcast or
Right.
something to the effect that people that wanted me to do sports back then, but I just couldn't do it and do the producers corner at the same time. And yeah, man, here we are again. All three of us got to set up the reunion. Got to set up the
Yes.
reunion at some point.
Yes.
uh, just tell us some of the highlights. I guess maybe if there's a show that kind of stands out in your mind from the producers corner, or maybe even a guest that we had that you really walked away feeling like that was probably either maybe one of the best interviews we did, or just one of the best segments that we did on the show.
There was two segments that stuck out in my mind, and I always knew I had a good segment when I would get you to go, that's a good question. Anytime I got you to do that, or Rich to go, God, dog, that's a good woo. Like anytime I got y'all to do that, like that was my favorite. So it was one we were talking about, like I think it was either like standing waves was one of them. We were talking about
I
like
remember that one.
reinforcing the room. That was
Yeah,
one. And then we were talking about gold plated cables.
I remember that
And
too.
that was a deep convo that we had. So I really enjoyed those two segments a lot because we had done so much on just compression and EQ that I was like, okay, we got to mix this up. So then we started getting into those type of conversations. And then you started bringing in like the music business conversation and the publishing and stuff. And really, like when we would get the list, I would have to like, let me go do some research like before I hit this, because I don't want to hit this wrong. So the music publishing conversations were really good in those two segments. As far as interviews, man, we did so many interviews. I do remember your boy, what was it, Boom?
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Boom.
Yeah, Boom. That was a good interview. I enjoyed that. Oh man, I'm gonna have to hit the archive. I can't even remember, man. We had some really good guests on
A
that
lot of
show,
good
man.
guys.
I have to go back, but Boom was really good because that was your homie, and that conversation was just, you could tell it was all love, and like y'all had the history, you could just hear it. So I love that episode a lot.
Yeah, man. Got to get him on this one as well. You know, he's been on the show, but like when it came to him, I remember like 10, 15 years ago, standing in the middle of Dallas, cold, rainy nights, handing out flyers to shows. And, you
Yeah.
know, now this dude, you know, he was, well, before the pandemic, was doing shows and stuff nationwide. So, you know, grind take you places, man. Grind take you places. Um, what kind of plans, you know, for the future as far as 2021? Do you have any projects on the horizon right now that you're working on?
Projects, man. Nothing too crazy. So beginning of 20, I'm gonna say 2020. I think that was the beginning of 2020. I revamped the whole studio. So I redid this whole room and I posted pictures. I think you commented on it and stuff. But I just redid the whole room. I dropped like a couple $1,000s, redid the room, and ever since then, my inspiration has been super high to really get into more beat production. Because I had stopped doing it and I was trying to figure out, why don't I produce more beats? And one day I looked around, I was like, I don't really like being in here. Like, this is not really like a dope setup to me. So I got rid of all my old stuff and really just changed the way this whole thing works. Anything I didn't like about it, I redid it. Like over here behind me to my right, that's actually my beat station. Which your studio made me think of that. I was like, look how you got like different. I was like, I could do that because my whole thing was I had everything around me in front. And I was like, I don't have enough room. I'm running out of space. So creatively, I felt like confined, and then like I was rushing things because I really didn't want to be doing all of the reaching and stuff. So now I watch your videos and how even if you're on a single piece of gear, you're on that piece of gear in that section of your studio and you produce on it. And I was like, I want to do that. So I got the TV over there, the keyboard over there. It mirrors my monitor. I just drag Logic up and then I scoot over and just produce. So that's really what I've been working on. And I really like lo-fi beats, man.
Oh man, yeah,
I
yeah,
love lo-fi beats. So I don't really know a lot about lo-fi, but I spend my time just like listening to lo-fi playlists to see just like what type of instrumentation you can do. And I want to find a way to like flip it, maybe incorporate something a little bit more hip hop, not just follow the rules, but switch it up to see if I can create something new. So that's really what I'm focusing on, that the lo-fi beats, mixing in a lot of vinyl crackles and stuff, getting it all
yeah,
in there and just taking it back, man. So
yeah,
beat
man.
production and audiobooks, of course, but that's
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, I just got really back to sampling off of vinyl. You
mm,
know, using sites like Splice and Sounds are cool. You know, I got my Splice membership, but um, there's nothing to me like digging, you know, crate digging and just putting a record on and see what kind of samples you can find, you know, from some old school records or you know whatever. Um, and that whole sound, I did a lo-fi beat tape last year. I'm probably gonna do another one this year, and there are a couple of like machine expansions that I like as well. But I've kind of think I've gotten more into that sampling boom bap style, with a little bit of lo-fi mixed in with that. You know, a lot of guys are still making like 808 type beats, and that's all they're using, man. And it's getting stale, man. And you know, it's been around for almost a little over a decade now. So you know,
Yeah.
they got to find something new. So you talked about the software you use. Do you use any hardware?
As far as my hardware goes, man, I got during the upgrade, I'm looking at it over here. That's when I'm turning this way. I got the Focusrite Claret 8 Pre X. I was a Focusrite dude. So Focusrite the Scarlet
Scarlet,
40.
yeah.
So I had that joint, but I was on the website, read that it was going out of date, no more updates coming. So I'm like, and that's part of the reason I did the studio upgrade too. I hadn't updated in so long, like stuff was going out of date. So I'm like, I need to just drop some money, just do the whole thing. So now I got that fibered into my old preamp, and my old preamp is like a slave now. Um, so it's connected to the Claret. But other than that, man, I don't really have anything too crazy. I rebuilt this rack over here. My buddy built me a rack, and I never put anything in it. So now I got an XLR panel on it, so I can access all of my preamps because I got I got 16 now, so I got a 16 input XLR patch panel in the front now, and I can do all my stuff in the studio. And just if I need to drag a mic downstairs or something like that, I can just go right into the front, take the cable, and go. Um, so yeah, that's really all I'm using hardware wise. I'm not a big when I went to school, man, that semester actually they stopped teaching tape. My
Man,
teacher was like, we were gonna learn tape. He's like, but he just looked at us and was like, I feel like that's so useless. He's like,
yeah.
none of you guys are using tape or will ever use tape. He's like, so we're just gonna skip it. And I was like, what? Like that's how crazy that is? Like splicing tape is like what you do in school. And our teacher
Yeah,
was like,
man.
nah, it's pointless. So instead, they taught us logic, you know?
Man.
So
Yeah. That's because when I first started, the kind of tape era was kind of starting to go away. Like, because you had the Reason 3, it was must have been about '04, '05. And
mhm.
people started at that point to record on Pro Tools on computers at that time. 'Cause I remember back then, everybody had the M box, and they they were trying to get Pro Tools on a PC.
Yeah.
And then in the late 2000s, that's when everybody started getting on the Mac and Logic. Going forward, I got on Logic. I think it was Logic 8 maybe. And yeah, man.
Yeah. I remember you saying that Logic 8. I missed that one. I missed that one. I started Logic 9 because I remember we had that conversation. We was both Logic heads for the longest time, man.
Man, I
So
remember I had read a book around it when I had first started using it, and shit, man, that was when Logic was on a disc, not one disc, it was like 10 discs,
yeah.
yeah, and you had to sit up at least 6 hours trying to install all of that stuff, man. So now it's just a simple download. Yeah, kids, software used to be on disc, for you kids out there listening.
That was an all-day thing. I think I only had one piece of software. I can't remember what it was. You had to load them joints up, close it back in, go do something, come back when it was finished, load the next. It's a lot, man. Like,
Man, I
I ain't got time
remember.
for that.
Yeah, I remember. I got off work one night, and I started installing discs. It was Friday night, And that's back when we were running with Boom and them, doing shows, Friday nights, Saturday nights, and all that. And shit, I might have installed the first 3 or 4 discs. I go out, I come back, have been drinking. I look at it. The rest of it had to wait till tomorrow, man. I couldn't do it. I was about to. It was late. I had been drinking. I wasn't about to do it, man.
Yeah, man. It's a lot. It's too much. Now they got like the what is it? I really want to get the complete, what is it? They on 13?
Yeah, 13 just came out.
It's so much space though. Like I'm gonna need its own hard drive.
Yeah.
So the download comes with the hard drive that you can just plug up and get all your stuff. But then I thought you could use that hard drive to put the stuff on. You can't. It's not like preloaded. So I'm gonna have to get a new hard drive just to load instruments, just to have instruments to play. So it's, oh man, it's too much right now.
It's way too much, man. It's the same. Because I'm struggling with the terabyte I got on my computer now. I got a couple of like 1 and 2 terabyte drives aside from that. But yeah, because I have complete 11. And
That was a good year. I wanted it that year.
I can't, man. That one was so much because that's what's taking up most of my storage right now, and I still haven't used everything in there. But it's pretty dope though.
Well, you know what, man? I'll get together with you if you want, because I had that same issue. My issue was I had too many hard drives. So I had like 4 hard drives of stuff. And my brother is a computer engine technician, we'll say computer technician. And he was explaining to me, man, like you got to get a single enclosure. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you got all these hard drives sitting out. Each one is taking up a port. He said, you can get all your hard drives on one port into your computer by using a stackable enclosure. So sitting in front of me, that was part of my upgrade. There's a little key. I turn the key. I can swap out the hard drives.
Ah,
So
okay.
once one gets full, I pull it out. It's a 5 deck. I pull it out of the deck. I can store it, keep it, but I can just open it up, pop a hard drive in, close it in, and it's now within that system of hard drives.
Yeah,
So that's the
man.
next step for you, man.
Yeah, man. I got to figure something out with this M1. It's dope, but it only got those 2 ports on it. But that's another story for another day.
Yeah, man.
Man. So what I always like to ask too before, we end the show is if there was one artist that you could produce a record for that you had just one chance to produce a I don't know, a 10, 12 track album for, who would that artist be?
We used to ask this on the show too, and I never thought about who it would be. Um, recently, I really like, he not YBN Corday, he just Corday now, but I really like Corday. Corday would be dope to produce for,
Yeah,
just
man.
because I feel like lyrically, as a youngin, like he just spit some real stuff. So I really like Corday. I really think he's up there. Like if you put a top 5 like recent artists that I like, he's up there. So I would love to produce something for a Corday.
That album he came out with, was it about a year or two ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty dope, man. And I heard him also on a Currency album as well. I think some point last year. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, I feel that a lot, man.
Corday
Uh,
is really good. Who would out of curiosity, who would you go with?
oh man, um, I would probably say it probably either would be like Currency or you got this also a rapper from Houston. His name Les.
Mm.
Uh, he actually, well, he's originally from New Orleans, but he live in Houston now. But probably one of those two, because I especially Les. I only feel like because I listen to some of his albums and I hear a lot of samples that I probably would vibe with,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, man, I feel like our styles probably would mesh really dope together.
Yeah.
He like a lot of those jazz vibes and those jazz samples, kind of like I like. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what? Since you did, I'm gonna add one more to that list. I would do Corday or JID.
okay, okay,
JID out of J. Cole's camp is nasty.
yeah,
Same thing,
yeah.
young guy. It's just crazy though. Like lyrically, the dude is crazy. And again, real stuff. So I feel that. That's a good list. I like that. I'm gonna have to check out Les LES.
Yeah, he spelled a S though with a dollar sign.
I have seen that before. Had a project of his, I think, a little while back. I know who that is. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I know who that is. I've seen that name before. So
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
man.
Definitely check it out. And where can people find you online and all of your work?
All of my work is gonna be koolnerdproductions.com. That's cool with a K, KOOLNERD productions with a S.com. If you're into the gaming stuff, anything gaming, streaming, YouTube, the podcast, that's gamefromthegamers.com.
Gamefromthegamers.com. Yeah,
You always
man.
talk about marketing, man. You got to get them URLs. See how simple that is? Everybody be like, oh,
Yeah,
you could
got
go
it.
to Twitter, L3_. Nah, 2 links.
Yeah,
Got everything
man.
on it.
What you playing right now?
Right now, super big into Apex Legends, but there's this game. It's a weird game, and I don't know how to explain it to you. It's called The Pathless. And I think I'm going to get a tattoo for it. Like, that's how dope it was. It's a little cartoony game. This chick's running around. This whole concept of like the light versus the dark. But the moving mechanics are really cool. So she has a bow and arrow, and you have to shoot these icons to sprint.
Man.
So it's really like, check it out, The Pathless.
Pathless.
And I just finished that. That was amazing. And I'm playing a little bit more Borderlands 3 too, because they got that movie coming out soon too. So Borderlands 3, been playing that, man. But there's a bunch of stuff, but that's my most recent.
Man, I just last week I finished Cyberpunk. I just got more addicted to that as I went along. I'm gonna go back through it. I played as the corporate business guy, and next time I want to go through it playing something else.
Did you get the glitches?
I didn't get the glitches.
Okay, you lucked out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was pretty smooth for the most part. They might add a couple of times it lagged, but other than that, it was pretty straight.
Okay.
And then I want to get on that Hitman 3. That's kind of on my next.
Same. I've been seeing some. That's gonna be that Dee Dot. That's gonna be nasty. I'm hyped. I'm gonna wait for the new system though, because I'm gonna get a PS5 eventually.
Yeah, same. It's like
wait.
I want to get another. Well, I'm on the Xbox. I'll probably get a PS5 too, but I want to get one for another room, and that's when I'm gonna probably start upgrading everything.
Yeah, Hitman 3 gonna be it.
So this has been it. Another Major Music Lounge, joined by Kool Nerd. You can catch the show on my YouTube channel, also on all streaming platforms. Thank y'all for watching, and we are out.
Fake news, scroll down on your phone. Who know the truth? Gotta search on your own. The revolution won't be televised. Can't trust the media, they're telling lies. Hackers, fake news, scroll down on your phone. Who know the truth? Gotta search on your